One day I went to the ladies' room in the art department, and I walked in and there's a student and she is just sobbing. And I go over and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "No." And I said, "What's wrong?" And she says, "Steve." And I said, "Okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna dry your eyes, you're gonna blow your nose, and you're going back to class." About 2 hours later, I went back in the restroom. There is another student. She is weeping all over the floor, and she said, "It's Steve." And I'm like, "You need to blow your nose, dry your eyes, and go back to class and get over it. You'll get used to it."
What I like about Steve is his unrelenting personality. He will not let you be anything less than the best you can be.
Steve really looks for the best in people, and when you don't give him that, he will pull it out of you one way or another, and that's something I really love about him.
I think how much he cares for his students is something that's very admirable. He comes across a lot of times as just a very hard person because he's very intense, but once you get to know him, he truly does care. He's hard because that's how the real world is, and so he really teaches us that.
The biggest thing I like about Steve is Steve.
The one thing I like best about Steve, I would say, is probably his honesty, sometimes his brutal honesty, but he's willing to tell you what he thinks and share his opinions with you, not because he's being mean or hurtful, but because he knows you can do better. In the case of his students, if you turn in something that's not your best work, he's going to let you know, because he knows you can do better, and he's going to push you to do better and push you to what he knows you're capable of doing. As a friend and a professional, he's going to be there to give you his personal thoughts and guidance on stuff and kind of help you make those decisions that you might not know how to find the answer. He's going to help lead you down the path he thinks is the best for you. So Steve's honesty is probably one of his best characteristics I can say about him.
I mean, he's maintained a level of dedication and seriousness, in the program, and that can be a very difficult thing to maintain. I mean, there are situations, actively working against that a lot of the time, and I admire, he really is dedicated to the students. The serious students.
What I enjoy about Steve is how he goes above and beyond for his students in preparing us for real-world experience. He doesn't baby us at all. He pushes us to our limit and over our limit, and he really just brings the best and what no one could imagine out of themselves, and just very caring and driven for what he's doing.
What I find admirable about Steve is his passion for life and the joy he brings to his students and his ability to instill in us that same joy.
What I like about Steve, I think, is probably his work ethic and his tenacity. I think overall, I think he's a pretty admirable person in general. He's definitely a good role model for students at Virginia Western. And I know he definitely works hard for the communication design program over there.
I always admired Steve's ability to behave more as a coach in a school setting than most teachers do usually. He rallied people behind him and got everybody really excited about being professionals in the workforce later on. He really geared his teaching style to getting us to a very successful place.
One of the more admirable things I think about Steve is his ability to continuously help people and not lose sight of his own personal interests as well, and continue to do what he wants to do, what he thinks is right, but then just his ability to help people and help people find their next step, whether it be teaching them stuff, but then also recommending them for stuff. His ability to do that is pretty astounding.
There are times that, and I think all of us have to be reminded sometimes, hey, what you're doing really matters. And there are times that he really has to be reminded, hey, you make a difference every day. You know, you may not see it right away, you may not see it for years, but you make a difference in so many people's lives just by, you know, the classes and the motivation and just, you know, the energy that he brings to everything that he does. You can't not feel that energy. You know, you can't not suck some of that energy in because there's just so much in the room. You know, you're affected by it whether you want to be or don't want to be. So he's kind of a force.
One of the things that I'm always going to remember about Steve is how a year ago I missed my first deadline in his class, and he didn't have to say anything to me. It was just the look on his face. And I decided at that moment I never wanted to make him look at me that way again. And then fast forward a year later at the senior show, and he is like talking to my mom and just telling her about like how I was one of the good ones. And you can get by in Steve's class being all right, but if he calls you one of the good ones, that means you like worked your butt off. And so that was a very like proud moment for me, just to see how far I come in just 1 year.
A funny story about Steve. I barely knew him, took a class from him. He was the new guy in town. The previous instructors that I had, you know, about design and production and stuff were pretty laid back. You know, we were doing, you know, Ruby Lith and stuff in classes, and he rolls in and it's like fully digital and was preaching about CMYK and separations and all that stuff. Completely floored me and held me to a T. You know, giving us an assignment and saying, you must do this and you must do it this way and you must do it in this amount of time was not something that I was used to. So while not funny, but his ability to walk in and just kind of control the situation and make you understand that you are a part of that situation is pretty incredible.
When I first met Steve at Virginia Western, he introduced me to the comm design program and was showing me the students' work and asking me if that was the kind of thing I wanted to make a career out of. And he asked me if I wanted to have fun every day for the rest of my life or not. And that pretty much sealed the deal as far as going to Virginia Western, graduating from his program, and of course having him as a big part of my life. After I graduated from Virginia Western, Steve got me involved with more and more projects, many of which were through his own doing, his own enterprises, and specifically Accuracy X.
Probably the most memorable item that I remember about Steve, or time that I remember with Steve, was when he was starting up Accuracy X. And 6 of us went down to Troy to go to a school to get started. And we spent 2 weeks out in the mountains in a cabin. And to watch Steve sit there and brainstorm, come up with what this vision was and how he was going to interject that into his life and turn this into what, you know, Accuracy X now is. It's the best of the best. And I was there to be a part of that, and I'll never forget that time. We had a good time, and I'll cherish those moments forever.
What I like about Steve is his whole idea, or maybe it's not even his idea, but the personal brand of Steve. Steve is really good about letting you know about Steve and what he's got going on, but he's also very passionate about that, and you know, and is in a lot of different things. His ability to bounce from, you know, making a gun to teaching someone Photoshop is pretty impressive.
The things I enjoy most about Steve is he's an inventor. He really, he came to me one day and said, I'm going to come out with this whole new product line, and I'd really like you to photograph it. And he started creating these absolutely incredible handguns, shotguns, rifles. He just never stops surprising me. He's just always an inventor, always coming up with something new, a new strategy, a new business, a new life plan. He's just always a very imaginative guy.
But Steve's commitment goes to much farther than just the students in the classroom. It goes to his work outside the classroom. Steve works with a nonprofit, World Relief Now, which goes and helps families in the poorest regions of Southern Africa to provide them with vitamins and health aid and medical aid and assistance, to clean drinking water, to be able to help them survive and to grow and to lead healthy lives. They produce a coloring book that is handed out to the kids in the community and the villages to help them learn healthy habits as far as eating, health, medical, just living habits and stuff like that. So his commitment to the community is much broader than just the students that he serves in the classroom, but the community at large, both locally and abroad.
Steve, in one word, would definitely be passionate.
Caring.
Committed.
I would describe Steve as being diligent. And I decided that I wanted to look that up and to make sure that it fit. And so all of the words fit. And I mean, he's very hardworking. He's industrious. He doesn't give up. You know, he's not like a tick on a dog. He's like a tick on a bone. Very, very passionate.
Awesome.
Dedication.
Tenacious.
If I had to describe Steve in one word, it would be dependable. I could embarrass him a lot, but I'd better not. I will tell you how we knew early on that Steve had compassion and a special relationship with people. We went camping once when he was 5, and it was after dark, and we were with an aunt and uncle, and she wanted to go to the bathrooms, and so her husband said, well, just take the flashlight and go on down there. And Steve said, no, I'm going to walk her down there. So,
I mean, Steve works really, really hard. He puts 150% into anything and everything that he does.
Well, I think his seriousness, I think his dedication. He's a legitimately honest and sincere person, you know, which is increasingly in short supply.
What I've seen him do with his work at Virginia Western has just been amazing. He's just unbelievable when he commits to something.
Never shortchanges anything that he undertakes. Very motivated, very driven. So all of those qualities just kind of roll into Steve.
I love his passion for life, and that anything he takes on, he does 100% and, of course, successfully.
His tender heart, compassion for others, has a great heart for his students, I can tell you that. His word, he gives his word, it's all you need.
Steve, congratulations on being named the Silver Medal recipient this year. It's very well deserved. What you do for everyone is truly amazing, so congratulations.
Congratulations, Steve, on the award. You definitely deserve it.
Congratulations, Steve. I can't think of anybody more deserving for this. Just thank you for all you've done for us, the advertising community, and for your students especially. You've really grown us to be better in this community and in our careers, and just congratulations on everything.
Steve, I just wanted to say congrats and thank you for everything that you've done for me and all the students at ComDesign. You've really taught us a lot about the world and how it works, and I can never thank you enough for that.
Congrats, Steve, on your 2018 Silver Medal Award. You're well deserving and super happy for you. Congrats, man.
Hi, Steve. I just want to say I'm really, really proud of you, but then I've been proud of you for a lot of things. So once again, way to go. Congratulations, and here's a high five.
Hey, Steve, congratulations. Just wanted to let you know that it's about time, and it's all very, very much deserved. So congrats on the award and for being basically amazing and getting us all through the VWCC program. Thanks.
Congratulations, Steve. It's much deserved, and I look forward to continuing working with you, but probably not for another 20 years.
Congrats, Steve. You deserve it, buddy. Hold 'em hard.
Congratulations, Steve. Thanks for being a big part of my life.
Congratulations, Steve. It is extremely well deserved.
Congratulations, Steve. You're the man.
Steve, I just want you to know, son, I am so proud of you. And you know, your dad would have been, if he could have been here to see this. You've been a blessing to us, and you've made life worth living. And I love you.
Hey, Steve. There are no words. I am so proud of you and everything that you have accomplished. We knew our journey would have our ups and downs, and we knew there would be good times and bad times, and you have always carried us through, and I am so proud of everything that you do. I love you.
In other words, he's a hard ass. Hopefully, I don't know.
I think you're the only person that has. Yeah, everybody's danced around it.
Oh no, he's such a hard ass. Yeah, right? Yeah, no, use it because it's true. But in a good way, of course. Yeah. He's a great guy, though. I love him to death.